the Nets and Celtics. Celtics are a 3.5-point favorite. Total here is 222. The Celtics took game one in pretty dramatic fashion. Marcus Smart hits Jayson Tatum for a little spinning layup as time expires, and the Celtics beat the Nets by one. Chris, this seems like a pretty tough game to pick a side on. So are there any other angles that you would look towards in this game?
Yeah, really, really tough game to pick a side on. I'd probably have to lean towards the Nets just because of how close we saw that game finish, obviously, and what a battle this is going to be moving forward. Giving the Nets 3.5 points, but I'm not ready to pull the trigger on that just yet. I will say for Ime Udoka and the Celtics, this to me this feels like an extremely important game. I don't know if they want to go even 1-1, right? Back to Brooklyn to face the Nets now where they have home court advantage. Obviously, the energy boost from their home audience. Some of the interactions between Kyrie and that Boston crowd. Eventually, that has to get in Kyrie's head. I mean, it doesn't show. He was unbelievable in that game, but clearly it's affecting him. I mean, he's throwing up the bird, left and right at these fans and saying a lot of other stuff. But anyway, aside from all the entertainment that we're probably going to see tonight again, it did feel like Brooklyn probably should have won that game the way that Kyrie took over in the fourth quarter. Just a ton of missed shots by the Celtics at the end too, and Jayson Tatum. It's very unlike them, but that is what happened. And I've never seen a team have so many shots contested in the Brooklyn Nets, and they were still making shots. I mean, they shot 53% in that game, and nothing came easy. Kyrie shooting over everybody. Durant was obviously a little, physically abused in that game, or 54%, I think it was in game one. So just a really good shooting game for Brooklyn. All this to say, I think there's going to be even more points in this one potentially because we know how the politics in this league work. And the way that Boston shut down Durant and were really physical with Kevin Durant in that game, I just have to believe that the Nets front office or maybe even Kevin Durant, they probably said something to the refs in between games. I just expect more fouls called in this one. I expect to see Durant more at the line. His points are 30.5 is where his prop is at. Points and assists are 36.5 and 38.5 for points, assists, and rebounds. So, I mean, I would count on Durant having a much better night tonight. You don't see back-to-back games that Kevin Durant really, flails on the court too often, even against the number one defense in the NBA for all intents and purposes. But one thing we forget about the Celtics too, this has been the number one offense in the NBA since the All-Star break, averaging 120 points per game. The Nets are right behind them at 118. So, I don't know if this pace is going to stop anytime soon. It seems like both of these teams are choosing to attack and attack at a high pace to throw off the other's defense. So I like the over in this game. 226 is pretty close to my number. But again, I think the pace and I think the uptick in fouls that are called in this one are going to send the Nets to the line a lot. So I just think this game is going to be more challenging for Boston. It's going to be really, really fascinating to see how they handle it. I still think they're playing like the best team in the NBA right now. I've said that many times before, so I think they can handle it. But I think the best angle on this one's the over.
The over's hitting 5 straight between these two teams, so a good look there. Kevin Durant also with 23 points. To your point, Chris, you got to believe that he's going to put up well above 23 tonight. He's not going to go back-to-back games of low 20s scoring. Josh, in my mind, this series kind of feels like it should almost be a pick-em, and so does it make sense to take whatever team has the points that night? Is that a valid strategy when you look at this series?
It might be. I think it's one of those series as well where home court might not matter as much. And what I mean by that is I think it's important to Boston, but Brooklyn's a team that's capable of going on the road and winning any given night. And they just don't have the same home court advantage. They haven't played with it all season. Obviously, the fact that Kyrie missed most of the home season probably didn't help. But even in the back stages, they didn't necessarily assert themselves in front of their fans. And I think Boston are the same, are capable of going on the road and winning. So, there could be situations where these teams trade off, home wins and road wins as a result. And like you said, it might even just be a case of play the underdog in every situation. But if Boston goes out and wins here, I'm not sure they're underdogs in game 4. I think they will be in game 3. I think in game 4, you're probably looking at a pick most likely. And this one in particular, this game 2, is something that it's hard to work out what it is to take away from it. I mean, the Nets were sort of so close, and on a night where Durant wasn't fantastic, so they can probably take away something in the fact that, you know, if he plays to the level that he can and normally does in the playoffs, it might be enough. But then the flip side for Boston is they let a 15-point lead slip away. They were down 5 with a couple of minutes to go against, you know, what is still a juggernaut of a team, and were able to wrestle back momentum and close the game, which is, you know, something that they haven't shown themselves capable of doing in years gone by. So do they carry that confidence and momentum into game 2 instead? And you know, it's one of those where I think you can make cases for both sides here, which is what makes it extremely difficult, and a good reason for me to completely just stay away. And as a fan, try my best to enjoy the game. But if I had to get involved, I'd probably be doing what Chris is doing and playing some sort of overs, whether it's a first quarter, first half, or a full game overs. You know, there's obviously correlation between the 3 of them in this series more so than any other. But yeah, you're talking about a Brooklyn team who is going to have to rely entirely on its offense to get them wins, because they just aren't able to do enough defensively. Their defensive stops are ultimately just, you know, Boston missing shots. It's not necessarily them forcing them into difficult situations by any means. So yeah, the overs makes complete sense for me. The points, if you want to grab them with Brooklyn, I couldn't necessarily talk you off them either. I think it's going to be one of those games where a few minutes to go in the fourth quarter, it's going to be a one-possession ball game either way, and then it just comes down to who executes down the stretch once again.
All right, Chris, well, it sounds like you're on the right side here, avoiding the side and taking the over at over 226.